Thank you for joining us. You would think unemployment coverage would pay you, but a small filing mistake during the pandemic is leading to serious headaches for those who needed help. One woman is facing the threat of a warrant alongside a $30,000 bill for something she says is not her fault. Investigative reporter Naomi Coles brings us her story. Naomi?
That's right. Dominique Aldridge isn't the only one the state expects money back from, but her bill is one of the highest I've seen. The state is blaming an error on her side. Dominique says she's not the expert, the DWD is, and they didn't help.
So with all that being shut down, I had no way to work.
Dominique Aldridge was living in Green Bay when the pandemic hit. She had to quit working to care for her 3 young children.
I wasn't out there trying to do nothing fraudulent or nothing. I literally had to stop my job and take care of my kids. I had nobody but me.
Now in Chicago, she's only just gotten back into the workforce. But the state of Wisconsin is asking for almost 30 grand back and is threatening her with a warrant.
But one thing I know is I'm not responsible for that $29,000 because they messed up. I used to call DWD every day to speak with somebody, and I got something told to me different every day.
She got regular unemployment as well as the extra federal benefit throughout a lot of the pandemic. At one point, she says the state switched her to the pandemic unemployment assistance program and then back off again. But now, because the DWD tells me she failed to report a job she worked for less than a week back in April 2020, Dominique owes Wisconsin the thousands they paid out.
The crazy thing was they put me on PEUC, took me off that, put me on PUA, took me off that, and then put me back on PEUC. I don't know how that stuff goes.
And so it's created a nightmare situation, especially for those in the lower economic spectrum who have multiple jobs, because every single job has to be adjudicated.
Employment attorney Victor Forberger says issues like this are getting worse as the pandemic gets better in Wisconsin. More than 12,000 people are awaiting hearings.
It's worse now than during the pandemic.
And for people who made mistakes on their claims, or the state thinks they made a mistake, the appeals battle is now a months or years-long nightmare, and one people like Dominique are often losing.
The technical term for this is called administrative sludge. You create hoops and obstacles for them to jump through and climb over, and so they can't successfully get those benefits except for an elite few who become experts in the system.
If I was never supposed to get the regular UI, when my case jumped in adjudication the second time, it should have been corrected.
Now, I talked to the state extensively about Dominique's story. They answered some questions, but they didn't address potential errors of their own and directed Dominique to the unscheduled appeals hearing. Now, about 57,000 people owe money to the state right now for overpaid unemployment. Not all of those happened during the pandemic, but based on the attorney's experiences as well as media reports around the state, a lot of them can likely be attributed to it.
Naomi, thank you. And 2 tips that the employment attorney has if you're in a similar situation. First, you might be encouraged to drop the appeal. He says, don't do that. It will only make it worse to get a resolution that works for you. Second, as you probably know, you'll need patience. It's going to take time to work through these thousands of appeals.